Expat couple murdered in paradise. Welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle. We're going to talk about a story today that went wrong and ended up tragically for the victims. So, you want to move abroad and invest in some expensive real estate? Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Buying property makes for a great asset, but if you're doing it in a foreign country, we have to do it with discernment and wisdom. Expats relocating from North America, UK, Europe, you name it, to poor countries and buying up expensive properties sets you apart from the get-go and is why you can become a target of crime or scam very easily. Let's clarify. Most of these expats aren't thinking they're buying expensive property abroad. On the contrary, they think they're getting a deal. And of course, comparing prices to their own country is the best way to buy expensive properties abroad. So, this is a story about a German couple that was killed for their $1 million home in Costa Rica. All they wanted to do was live in their little town on the beach and enjoy a peaceful life, and now their lives are gone. Costa Rica police confirmed German couple killed in Quepos. On Tuesday night, the judicial investigation confirmed the discovery of two bodies buried on a property near Finca Cheros in Quepos, Puntarenas. The victims were a German couple who had been reported missing on Monday. So if you're wondering where this area is located in Costa Rica, here is a map of the area. Cheros Puntarenas is about 80 miles south of big city San Jose. Zooming in on the map on Google, it then shows the town of Quepos, where this couple lived somewhere near on the beach there. And now I'm going to show you some of the photos of this town while we talk about this expat murder and what we can do to try and prevent these types of crimes happening to more people. Here's Quepos and the little bay area of the town. The report goes on to state that the motive appears to be robbery. Now, does that surprise anyone watching this video right now? The bodies were found on the same property where the couple lived. Possible robbery is being investigated as the motive for the murders. Now remember, you're the gringo with lots of money. And what does that make you to the bad apple scammers and killers? That's right, a target. And we hate to say it, folks, but there are just too many bad apples that just lie in wait for the opportunity to make a killing, no pun intended, off of robbing vulnerable people. Some of these home robberies, the victims are unharmed, but unfortunately, many times they are harmed, as in this story. So don't think for a minute that bad apples won't try to harm you if they deem it necessary to get what they came for, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Quepos looks like your typical little beachy tourist town with mucho gringos playing tourist. Nothing at all wrong with that. We hope they enjoy their time in Latin America. But it looks like two of the tourists are carrying around shoulder strap purses. Now, we all know what is in these thin purses, and so do the thieves. Yes, U.S. passports are often stolen in Costa Rica, typically as part of thefts involving bags or purses. Now, everyone knows you probably have a passport, maybe with a little bit of cash in those arm strap purses shaped like a passport. Fanny packs are no-nos too. Thieves just get a knife and cut the strap right off. A better idea is to use those versions designed that fit under your shirt, which we've used plenty of times during our 15 years of foreign travel without any negative consequences. Here's a little bit of information that you might find interesting next time you travel abroad. Why do people steal passports? What do they do with them? Passport theft is often directly motivated by selling the document on the illicit market. Passports are sought-after commodities due to their utility in various criminal activities. So getting back to the crime story of the German couple. I just want to remind our listeners that we just shared a video about 3 weeks ago about American expats getting killed in Costa Rica. That happened in July and August of this year, and now another brutal crime in late September. These brutal crimes against foreigners are giving reason for Costa Rica to worry because apparently some smart Americans have quit traveling to Costa Rica right now. And we think travelers should go elsewhere when crimes against foreigners start spiking like this. According to the head of the police, this type of violent crime is particularly tragic because it ends the lives of people seeking to live peaceful life in Costa Rica, and it affects tourism. It also discourages foreigners to move to Costa Rica. Well, you've got that right. Wise travelers will just go somewhere else that's less risky. However, the statistics for heavily and chronically promoted areas of the world are not pretty when it comes to the eventual downfall of these areas from a desirability perspective. He also mentioned that Costa Rica needs to invest more resources in security and take measures to prevent situations of violence from affecting citizens and tourism. I hope so. So what I've told you so far is what is reported by the Tico Times, but they haven't told us anything. Who, what, why, when, and where? Hello? We want more details. What actually happened to this couple, and how can foreigners prevent these types of crimes happening to them when they are moving and living in a Latin American country or anywhere abroad? So a little bit more digging, and I found this from the Panama newsroom, no less. Funny how Panama's reporting on crimes against expats in Costa Rica. Well, they are neighbors after all. Murder of a European couple in Quepos, Costa Rica. 3 arrests. Good, they got him. Here's what they're reporting. Authorities in Costa Rica arrested 3 people on Wednesday in connection with the killing of a European couple whose bodies turned up buried on their property in Quepos last month. The suspects, 2 Costa Rican men and a Colombian woman, faced charges tied to the plot driven by greed over the victim's land. The victims, 60-year-old German and his 57-year-old wife, had settled in Costa Rica 3 years ago seeking a quiet retirement. They bought a sprawling 50,000 square meter estate in Cerros de Quepos, Punta Arenas province, complete with a remodeled 550 square meter home, 4 bedrooms, a natural pool, and lush grounds fed by a stream. So basically, they were killed for their sprawling $1 million estate. Now, where have we heard this before? The couple poured their savings into this place after selling off assets back home. Trouble started when they decided to sell their property, listing it for around 500 million colones, or about $1 million. Investigators say the suspects approached them with an offer, signing an option to buy, but failing to make the required deposit. What followed was a brutal attack. So we got more details now, and just by reading between the lines here, we think the German couple became too trusting of these 3 individuals who promised they were going to buy their $1 million property. And have you noticed how they're calling 4 acres sprawling? We had almost 4 acres and a 4-bedroom house with a pool in the USA before leaving for our life abroad, and we never thought our home and property was sprawling, but it looks like it depends on who you're talking to. And this is a Latin American reporter writing for a major local newspaper. It's not like you're hearing it from some homeless guy on the street. So this highlights the idea that wealth is perceived differently when we move abroad. An important note to consider, which we've talked about incessantly. What could this couple have done differently to perhaps spare their lives? Well, for one, perhaps putting local business middlemen out in front. But many people don't like middlemen such as realtors and lawyers. Clearly, this couple was trying to sell it themselves, but advertising a $1 million property to the foreign public is just a big no-no in our book. Here is something everyone needs to know. Most Westerners do not sell their properties to locals. It's almost unheard of. Why? Because locals don't have money to buy $1 million properties, that's why. They can't get bank loans for the deposit or down payment of a home because they don't do bank loans in developing countries, and if they do, it's with established businesses that have credit already. Knowing this, perhaps they would have investigated the 2 Costa Ricans and the Colombian a little bit better, such as asking for references or observing other real estate transactions they've made and checking to see if those deals were on the up and up. By the way, who is the fifth wheel from Colombia? That right there seems suspicious to us. 2 locals and a Colombian buying your $1 million property? Oof! Another thing that maybe they could have done was getting their earnest money first before they allowed this trio to sign the option to buy. This couple may be well-intentioned and all, but they're not very good business people. This is where the lawyer would have come in handy, or at least someone with some business sense. The third-party middleman can do the vetting of the prospective buyer and weed out the bad apples. Unfortunately, however, we have seen cases of crooked middlemen, too, that committed the crimes. Bottom line, this couple were completely conned by the 3 suspects because they thought they were going to sell their $1 million property without having to pay commissions. But they were very naive and gullible people. This is why we say doing business in a foreign country is risky, and many expats become defrauded and in this case succumb to fatal outcomes. Fortunately, they did catch the killers, but we're sorry for this couple. The Judicial Investigation Agency, known commonly in Costa Rica as OIJ, it's the police, zeroed in on the suspects through witness accounts, video footage, and forensic clues. Prosecutors point to robbery as the clear motive, with the suspects aiming to grab the land without paying. So let's take a look at the small town of Quepos. Here is what it looks like. Population of this town is about 20,000 people. Just think, this couple comes into this small developing town populated with a bunch of poor folks whom are mostly all very good people, but bad apples are everywhere. Quepos looks like a cute little fishing village. So they go into town buying up this beautiful, sprawling, to the locals, ranch estate. Foreigners stick out like a sore thumb. 3 bad apples come into town, find out about this couple from Germany, and bungo! A question comes to mind. Why do people do these things? What motivates them? And are they just bumbling foreigners, naive as can be, that haven't done their homework, and in this case suffered dearly for it? That's all it takes. Take care, stay safe, and bye-bye.